All right. Sometimes I get students that have taken a Python course with a software developer type person, and they always tend to have some kind of outline in their Python script where we might have, like, let's say, a bunch of functions. So we'll see functions up here, and then, so it'll be a def, and then we'll have a function. We'll just call it a main function with some arguments, and then it will do some things, right? And then down here, what we'll see is something that says if the namespace is equal to main, right, which is making sure that we are actually working in this environment, then we're going to do some stuff down here. And usually a lot of that do some stuff is like calling functions. So for example, I would call functions. So one of those might be my main function that I created up above. So what values does this have, and how can we use this? So I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in why we're doing this, other than the fact that it kind of helps with our namespace. And if we're creating applications that are beyond scripting, this could be a format that would actually help us out with making sure that our software is reliable and secure. So let's go ahead and create some functions. And what I actually want to do is I want to create some functions that will not only just help you demonstrate this concept and how to use it, but maybe we might learn something a little bit along the way into creating functions and using some of the tools that Python has. So I want to create this little function. I'm just going to call it hello. And I want to input a name variable, but I also want that name variable to have a default of nothing. And you'll see why here in just a moment. So if the length of that name variable happens to be greater than 0, basically if it's not nothing, then I want to say that name is going to be equal to that a space, then that name. All right, so what this is actually doing, and by the way, if you don't understand my notation, that might kind of help you with that if statement. But what I'm really saying is that name is actually equal to the name with a space preceding that. And that's going to basically allow me to create a sentence here that says print, hi there. Actually, that's got to be in quotes. Hi there. And then I'm going to add my name. And so if name was greater than 0, that means it'll be hi there space name. And then I'll go ahead and add an exclamation mark. And then I'm going to do a line return. Okay. And keep in mind that if name was 0, that space, it wouldn't be hi there space exclamation mark. It would just be hi there with an exclamation mark. And that's why I'm doing that. And I want to also print another message. I want to say, here is some text I processed. ... new line return. And okay, so that's a function. And in fact, let's kind of see what that looks like. Let's just say hello. And it says, hi there, here's some text I processed. And if I also put a name in here, like Tony, said, hi there, Tony, here's some text I processed. So you can see how calling the functions under this main component, how that works and how all those pieces go together. So I want to put together another type of function, and I'm going to call it text. I want to call it my text wrangler. Right? And inside this text wrangler, I'm going to actually put some text, surprise, surprise. And the first thing I want to do with my text wrangler is I want to change the text to lowercase. So basically, I'm going to take the text, I'm going to set it equal to itself, but made lower. And then I'm going to remove some punctuation. So I'm going to remove punctuation. I hope I spelled that correctly. And I'll do the same thing. Text equals text dot replace, and one thing I'm going to replace is all commas. with nothing. And then the next thing I'm going to do is do something simple. I'm going to replace all periods with nothing. All right. So, and then I'm going to return that text. So this is a function that I will process it, and then I'll return it back to some kind of variable. All right. And if I kind of want to see how that would work, we could do something like this and say text, my text is going to equal, I'm going to grab something that I found on the internet, and it's this thing about the rock. So I don't mean App State's rock. It's about Dwayne Johnson, the rock. All right, so here's my text. And so we can kind of see what my text wrangler will do. We're going to type out my text wrangler, and we're going to go ahead and put in my text and see what happens here. Actually, nothing happens because I didn't put a print statement, right? So let's just go ahead and put a print statement so we can see what happens. There we go. So now we can see that out of this text, all the periods and commas were removed, right? So that's all that little my text wrangler does, is it takes text that we might enter and kind of throw that in play. All right. Now, what I want to make sure of is I want something that says hello, and put the name of someone, and then also then later run the text wrangler. All right, so what I want to do is I want to define main. I want to have text, and I want to have name equal to something default set to nothing in case I don't have a name. And I want to call my hello function, right? So we have this hello function here. And then if someone gives me their name, I'm going to go ahead and put their name in here. Right? And the next thing I want to do is I'm going to want to print whatever comes out of my text wrangler, and I am going to put in the text data that I end up putting together. All right. So now the way that would end up working is that we might see something like this. So we would say main. Right? And the first thing that we would want to do is we'd want to put my text in there, right? And the next thing is a name like boss. Let's just go ahead and put boss in there. And if we run it, it says, hi there, boss. Here's some text I processed, and boom, right? It gives us that information. And additionally, if I just remove the name boss, right, and just run it, it just says, hi there. Here's some text that I processed, and it will show me the processed text. But let's do something a little crazy. And this is, I'm going to say print, I'm going to say, hello, may I ask your name? Hopefully we have someone who is generous enough that will give us their name, and we're going to create an input box, and whatever a person puts into that input box is going to be the name. And then we're going to go ahead and add just another line return just to kind of keep it organized, right? And this time what we're going to do is in our main, we're going to go ahead and put that name text. And let's go ahead and run it. So it says, hello, may I ask your name? And so let's go ahead and put Bob. And then you'll see down below it says, hi there, Bob. Here are some text I processed. And it has all the information about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now, if I were to run this again and I decided I don't want to put anything in, notice that there's no space here, right? Which means that it processed it with no text data, and boom, there we go. So now we actually are able to use this whole thing. So if you look at this structure, here's the learning components of it, is that it allows us to create some type of program using functions and then calling the main thing under our main namespace here. And that's a format that software developers will end up using. And so if you get confused with, what's happening and you want to be able to create some functions and be able to use them to process things, here's an approach to do that. So I hope that helps, and I'll see you next time.